Nerdbox.
Hi, Fiends. Thanks for joining me on DonnaJean's Coffee House of Horror. And I am here with my new old friend, Anthony St. Thomas. And I am so delighted to have you here.
Thank you, DJ.
Of course, I have heard about you from Monique, but I've also seen you do so many things. You're a poet, you're an artist, you're a photographer, you're an actor, you're a musician. I am just so wowed by the talent that you have and that you share it with this world. And we were chatting just for a second there before I hit record, and you were saying that people don't actually know you because you usually, these things that you do behind the scenes.
From behind the scenes most of the time. And even the acting, when you do a lot of acting in really what's referred to as genre films, or I like to call them super duper indie. now that the millionaire producers have taken the word indie, it's like, oh, it only took $2 million to make this movie. You know, I've been in movies that's been made on $30.
I actually am delighted that I've adopted and been adopted by a lot of folks in the indie community. And talking to some of those filmmakers, you kind of realize that, yeah, some of these films that it doesn't have a whole lot of money going on. And it really comes down to the talent in the story.
Yeah. And you know, that's, I think, you know, not to come out of the gate immediately attacking the machine, attacking Hollywood, but that's the thing that Hollywood constantly forgets, especially when it's going out of its way to aim at those of us who watch these films, the old midnight movies, you know, the John Carpenter movies, the Wes Craven movies. That's why their remakes constantly fail, because they forget that it's driven by the story in such a way that we don't care how many fancy actors you throw at us. We don't care about your digital effects. When it comes to our material, we want to see a genuine story being told, and we want you to get us immersed. Either make us laugh, make us scared, or make us conscious of something that we didn't know before. And they don't get it. They forget.
If you could work with any one filmmaker at this point, living or dead, who would it be?
Dead. Oh.
Yeah, it's a big question.
It's a huge question.
I know.
See, I'm in love with so many genres. Can I split down the middle?
You can, absolutely.
Right now, it would be Quentin Tarantino and Jordan Peele. Okay. Those would be my two choices right now.
Okay.
Because they didn't forget.
Powerful. You have such a passion about so many things. And the artist in you allows that passion to come out into visible, the written word, art, photography. Did you always know that you had this passionate artistic nature, and was that hard to discover when you were younger? What was?
No, it was absolutely the first thing I knew. I can't say I acknowledged it, but it's the first thing I knew. Before I can speak, I was drawing panels for comic books. The first word I could spell was Godzilla.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was always one of my mother's favorite stories at a dinner party or something. It was like, this kid can spell Godzilla better than he can spell his name. He drops the T out of his name every other time, but oh no, Godzilla is right every time. But
So it was really the visual arts then. That was the first thing that.
yeah, later I came to realize that anything I do visually is, for me, part of the verbiage. I didn't have the language skills at one point to speak these things. So my best iteration of it was a drawing. So once I got to the point where I realized that, I started getting pretty wordy. And growing up reading comic books and watching genre films, even when I wasn't supposed to, watching the pulp stuff on late night TV. A lot of the kids nowadays don't have the advantage / disadvantage of having those sneaking up at 3 o'clock to watch the Saint, or watching the old serials of Captain America or Flash Gordon.
No, the first horror movie I remember really watching, I was about 8, and I had snuck downstairs. My grandparents lived with us, and I crawled up next to my grandfather, who was sleeping, and he was watching the original Night of the Living Dead. In fact, I still occasionally will have nightmares about my family coming as vampires, as zombies, because I was so influenced by that movie in so many ways.
That really is the first horror film that scared me. I was a little kid, and I'd watched all the Universal stuff, Frankenstein and Dracula, and none of them. I mean, I was excited to watch it, the Wolfman, and I loved all that stuff. But the first one to scare me was Romero's Night of the Living Dead. It freaked me out. It really freaked me out.
It was a powerful movie in so many ways.
It's so layered. It's so layered. And Romero and his son, very, very huge understanding of that genre, and rightfully so. George created that genre, and so every time you want to see it move a level, you have to go back to the master. And now you have to really look at his son. You really have to, it's not the big productions and all that, but if you want to see that genre move forward, you go back to the name. You go back to Romero.
Well, I'm going to have to check out more of his son's work then. So I didn't realize he was really following in his dad's footsteps.
In a lot of producing a lot of work. And again, not really huge market stuff, but yeah. Night of the Living Dead. Whew. It's one of the 5 horror films that freaked me out.
Well, that's when you talked about sneaking down and this generation not knowing what that's like. That's immediately what came to my mind, because that's what I did.
Yeah, that's how I saw Night of the Living Dead. I watched it. It was on really late. And, I mean, actually, that's how that's pretty much how I was introduced to like even Doctor Who, the sci-fi stuff, you know?
Yes. Yeah, actually, I'm a big Doctor Who fan myself. And when I was growing up, it was Tom Baker. And then
Yeah, me too.
we're close to the same
Tom,
age.
yeah, Tom Baker was my first Doctor. He was my first Doctor.
Now, let me ask you, we'll talk about some of your books a little bit.
Okay.
I have to get a copy of Cat O' Nine Tails because obviously I read the write-up, I saw the cover photo, and the cover is Monique. And
The story is actually the characters based on Monique. And actually all the characters are designed around, well, it's done as if it was a movie. And it's one that we keep going back to the drawing board on, because you know, it's a blend of me, Dennis Willman, and Monique, and we keep coming to a certain stage of how we're supposed to do this. So that one's a little tricky.
well, speaking of indie films, is there any chance that could be put to film?
I would love to put Cat O' Nine Tails. It would have to probably be a series, a mini series. But as is, it's turning into a narrative with illustrations, which makes it extremely long because the concept was each tell is literally a tell. It's not a chapter in one story. It's a self-contained story that, since it features the same character, it's her life. So it's getting pretty long. So that's still in the works. And the One Piece is the first tale, which is available on Amazon. And Dennis Willman's work is just amazing. Amazing. Initially we were going to do it as a comic book as opposed to poster style narrative book. But looking at the finished product, the first one, I was like, okay, I will write the entire narrative.
It actually, I was thinking, it could kind of come out as like a graphic novel because falling into the comic book theme of
Yeah.
the same characters but with different tales, that could very well work.
And the thing is that, you know, both Dennis and Monique really started seriously wanting the narrative, the novelization type style. And I didn't want to do 9 novels. So we've been trying to work it out, but they really wanted me to get into the narrative storytelling. Like my first 2 books, they both really enjoyed, and they wanted more of that as opposed to scripting that goes along with comic books or movie making.
Right. Well, it sounds like just the storyline and the character has a lot of promise to be moving forward into whatever direction you might wish to take it.
I think the character is really applicable to pretty much anything. Like most pulp characters. I mean, her character is built and based in the genre of the pulp hero. And we have a lot of that right now that Marvel has gone big, DC is trying to keep up. But even where that's concerned, she's based on the older versions of that. She's based on the Phantom. She's based on the Shadow, you know.
I was reading Ghost Rider when my daughter was a baby. I used to my brothers collected them, and I would go to my mom's house and I would always go into their rooms and pull out their Ghost Rider.
Oh, I love Ghost Riders. I have a signed Ghost Rider.
Oh, that is so cool. That is awesome.
I am such a nerd.
I'm with you.
A lot of people look at me and say, oh, he's a tough guy. He's a tough guy. It's like, yes, he's a tough nerd.
I have a signed Ghost Rider. Actually, the thing about comic books, to me, was you realized that the comic books really were the first ones fighting against racism, fighting against sexism. I mean, I don't recall the year, but I don't know. Storm was not only a woman superhero in the Marvel world, she was a Black woman
she was
in the Marvel world.
Legitimately an African woman in the Marvel world. But Marvel has a long history of attempting to normalize people of other races, creeds, and colors. You know, I mean, when you have if you got 6 Black guys in a room and you're writing stories, and one of them come up with a white character, you might not hit the mark. But you know, the fact that they want to create a character who doesn't look like them and expresses their desire to do the right thing and exist in this world, then that has to be applauded. Now, Kirby and Stan Lee, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, creating Black Panther, you know, was a huge deal, because Black Panther was like no other Black character in a comic book or pulp genre period that wasn't written by Black people. You know, he being an African king, coming from a society that's like, you know, hidden away but technologically advanced. All those things were just
amazingly advanced in every way.
Exactly. You know, and the thing is that Jack and Stan opened the door for other people to come behind them and take these characters, Black and otherwise, to incredible heights. I mean, even Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is an amazing scream out to the nerds that you are a superhero.
Yeah.
You know,
well, really, they took, and even my daughter loved X-Men when she was pre-high school through high school. And so I came to know them because she loved them, you know, so
yeah,
I couldn't separate out my love of X-Men for my love of my daughter because she introduced them to me. But she introduced me to so many things that were, you know, even the X-Men, some of them they have these special talents of walking through walls, like Kitty Pryde, or
Kitty Pryde.
They're completely deformed, you know, which is not actually deformed. It's actually a gift to them.
Yeah.
And how society looks at individuals, that society looks at individuals that are different as being bad. And I always took the X-Men as being a slam in the face for that.
Yeah.
You know?
I think of the X-Men as being part of the reason why society deemed it necessary to come up with terms like handicapable instead of handicap. You know, the X-Men challenged the idea of racism, sexism. It was all right there. And it also challenged how far do you go to protect or present your case? Are you an Xavier who wants to help by being part of society? Or are you going to be Magneto and be like, you know, I know that you hate me, so now I hate you back.
But then they also go into Magneto's story.
Yeah.
And you realize that he was in the concentration camps.
Magneto is one of the probably the most well-developed villains of his time. He was some villains aren't wrong, they're just extreme. The best villains aren't wrong, they're just extreme. If you really listen to them, they have a point. How they're going about it, however, is destructive, not only to the people around them, but to themselves. I mean, we say that carrying a lot of anger and hatred and all these things is like a cancer. It kills you quicker than anything else. It's stressful. These characters are carrying that kind of energy.
Yes.
And, basically, the best villains, somebody can look at them and go, no, I get what you're saying. I'm sorry that this is happening. We have to find a way to eradicate the situation, and your way eradicates everything. It's not going to work.
So you've got the Magneto versus Xavier thing.
Exactly. I always loved that Xavier and Magneto were friends as well.
Me too.
And I think that that phenomenon has happened a lot in literature and in comic books, but I don't think it's ever been done as well as Xavier and Magneto. Initially Superman and Lex Luthor were friends, and the breakup was a ridiculous storyline. It's just like, oh, you made me bald, I'm pissed at you. No, we don't buy it. And it's been changed a million
times. Bald is hot, come on.
But Xavier and Magneto will get into these epic fights and turn around and have lunch.
Yes.
And basically being like two really good friends who are just in a very rival situation. And of course, the more powerful you are, the bigger these rivalries become. Two guys who meet on a football field, who play for different teams, are just, they'll take it to the field, and then afterwards, they'll talk crap to each other's face.
Right.
Of course, Magneto can move buildings. And Xavier can take over people's minds. So,
I think society in our country could learn a lesson from those guys, like, oh my gosh, some of the discord, and I don't want to go into it, but some of the discord between factions today, just like they can't even admit the others are human beings,
Well, I think that's one of the failings of society. We used to understand that there was a middle ground. There was a conversation to be had. At least most of us did.
I agree. And honestly, I think most people wanted to have that conversation, wanted to find what they had in common. Yeah. And boy, it just seems like right now, it's frightening how little that seems to be happening.
Well, I mean, it's good to have movements to respect people, so on and so forth. But a while back, we had this whole thing that was the PC movement. And I think that it did us more harm than good, because some things have to be in the light to be dealt with. All the scary things grow in the shadows. If you have mold in your house, I guarantee you it starts in your wet basement in the dark, someplace you never go. And it can grow through the entire house. And that's what happened to us, I believe.
So can cancer in your body.
Yeah, exactly. Where you can't see it. And so you don't deem it as dangerous until all of a sudden it's taken over your body. It's taken over your house, It's
taken over society. Yeah.
Exactly. Taken over society. the things we allowed things to grow in the dark because we got to the point that we were trying to be so pleasant, falsely pleasant, that we weren't dealing with the issues. And false pleasant, I mean, you know, it's one thing to meet someone who is genuinely sweet. It is terrible to meet someone who only pretends to be sweet.
Oh, they're sweet to your face. And the next thing you know, you turn around and they are saying all this stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, that I think society has had a big run of that for a long time. And then we're under all this heat. And then someone put a lid on us for a couple of years and boom.
Okay, I'm going to jump back because I think
Yeah,
you and I could just talk forever, I think. But I did want to ask you about your book. I understand you're working on one now, Sugar Rush?
No, Sugar Rush is actually a short that
I'm sorry.
It's a short film that we're hoping will blossom into a few others, maybe like a small series. So it's going to be a 5-minute film. It is written and should be being filmed by the end of the summer.
That is very cool. There's a big world out there of shorts, film shorts.
Yeah.
And it's something that seems to have become more popular in recent years.
I think the fact that we have so many avenues in which to watch films now has made it acceptable to do more shorts. I mean, they've always been there. These all films started as shorts. You know, we used people used to look at the little things, Charlie Chaplin on on the little reel to reel, and you know, they started as shorts, and going back to them to a certain extent is kind of what we do. You know, if you're around for a few decades, you see fashion sneak back up, and you kind of go, yeah, that's not new. We've seen that. But yes, I'm very proud of Sugar Rush as a script, and I'm really waiting to see it filmed. You know, I've written a couple of scripts that kind of sat in obscurity, and I wanna sit down with other artists and turn them into graphic novels, because my first love was and always will be novelization. I like that's how I see even the art. I'm telling a story. So some of the scripts that I do have, I want to sit down with artists and, you know, other than myself, because graphic novels and comics and film, it's a collaborative sport. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be handed off to someone and they take it to the next level. So your finished product, if everyone put their best foot forward, is 10 times better than it was when it started.
It's got your passion to start it and then handing it off to someone else's for them to add theirs. And
exactly, you know, so I'm excited to see any of the things that I've written in script form, either as graphic novels or like with Sugar Rush being a visual film, come to light, because I want to see again what visualization is put to my words. I'm also writing a script with a couple of scripts with Darkstone on a project they're working on for Amazon.
Oh, that's very cool. Is that a hush hush at the moment, or can?
Well, I don't know how hush hush. The name of the project is the Sin Eater. So I can give you the name. I can't give you a lot of details on the storyline. And it's probably going to be a few years out, like maybe 2 years out before you can get it on Amazon as as a series of short movies, you know, on demand type thing.
Yeah. You know,
But
that's taken on a whole new life because especially with everything streaming now and not being like, to go back to our old selves of what we grew up with, certain shows on at certain times, you know, now you can stream whatever you want, but with the world of Netflix and Shudder and Amazon and all of that, as long as you can get somebody to give you enough money to be able to get it on there.
yeah, you know, but it actually still reminds me of the 50s and 60s though, when you couldn't walk in any town that was worth mentioning and not hitting a movie theater, or you had 2 to 3 drive-ins in your town or near your town, where, you know, these great big parking lots, and at 12 o'clock midnight they would start showing you 3 movies.
Yeah, that is actually one of the cool things that's happened. And I live in Pennsylvania. And actually, between work and home, I actually pass a drive-in every day.
Awesome.
And it's one of those things that's kind of like, it has come back during COVID because that was a way that people could actually get out to the movies.
Yeah.
And that would be kind of cool if it did come back in other areas again, you know?
I would hope that it does, but that's what the streaming reminds me of. It's just that now there's a little more control, you know, but what we are getting and what we are involved in is an entire group or an entire generation of filmmakers who would have never been heard of getting to show what they do. So we have 100 John Waters, we have 100 Wes Cravens and John Carpenters, and you know, we get dozens upon dozens of imports, like the kung fu flicks.
Oh yeah, right.
We get a lot of that, and I love it. And I can see though, sometimes it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming. I mean, like even with Disney, with the Marvel stuff, it's kind of like a whole dream come true. Running around in the 80s, me and my friends used to cast the movies for the X-Men and the Avengers, and you know, but we really didn't believe it could be done. Not giving it justice, you know. And now we live in a world where we just saw the Infinity Gauntlet storyline.
Right.
Altered, but who cares?
Yeah.
We're seeing this incredible storyline with characters and abilities that at one point would have been ridiculous to even try.
Yeah, the world has opened up, and hopefully some of those positive messages that are in there
Absolutely.
get out.
And they managed to keep the positive messages, which is the number one reason for that genre, is really the superhero genre. You know, I think they've gotten even better at understand who you're referring to as the bad guy. You know, look at the person that you're calling the bad guy better, because very rarely did he wake up this way. Something
happened.
Something happened. And, you know, his thinking is justified, even if his actions aren't. You know.
You know, I was going to ask you which was your favorite medium to work in, because you do so much, but you kind of answered that already with the graphic novels and the illustrations and all that. But I am going to ask you about your photography, because that was actually my first introduction to you was seeing these amazing photographs of Monique. Do you have any thoughts about doing a photography book? Because you look at your photographs and there's heart and soul to them.
Thank you. Technically, I have a poetry photography art book out presently that's on Kindle. It's I don't want to say erotic. It's more sensual.
Okay.
And it's Goddess as a Temple of Worship. And it has a lot of my photography, a few of my paintings, and on each page is a poem married to the image. Now, I'm working on a few photography books at presently, no names yet. One of my things about photography is, much like everything else, it seems to be a wide range. The most popular stuff tends to be Monique, because Monique is in the world in such a way. But you know, I do landscapes, cityscapes, other models, and a lot of the book has Monique in it too, but other models as well. So yes, I am working on bringing more photography to the world and trying to get back into galleries as the world opens up.
That was going to be one of my questions. If you had any showings, because it is such a strange time right now.
Yeah.
Things are starting to open back up. Hopefully we'll get some of this pandemic stuff behind us.
I hope so.
Do you have thoughts about any showings at this point, or is that kind of?
All of that's being looked into now. Actually, there was supposed to be like an entire year of like a tour of some of my stuff up in upstate New York. Right when COVID hit is when we were supposed to start framing and doing everything. And so basically, some of the places that I was even going to hang don't exist anymore. They're just gone. And
small businesses, so many small arts.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
sad.
So many great places that had so much intimate personality completely wiped off the face of the earth, you know. But hopefully, you know, like everything that's tragic, what rises from it will be stronger.
Yeah. Well, if somebody wants to follow you on social media to see when these pandemics start to happen and see some of your work, do you have anywhere on social media they can follow you?
Right now, I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram. And funny thing, I always have my face into something, doing something that I never even remember the way to keep these. I just kind of go, oh, okay, there you go. I know the quickest way on Facebook is to either go to Anthony St. Thomas Photography. It will take you to my photography page, or author Anthony S. Thomas. That takes you to my writer's page. Same thing exists on Instagram. And thank God for the use of hashtags. If you hashtag Anthony St. Thomas poetry or any iteration thereof, Anthony St. Thomas art, you will fall directly into one of my pieces and be able to follow me there.
Awesome.
The website is still under construction, because being that I'm a very physical person, and like, you know, even writing, the stuff that's available is available on Kindle, but I am very into tangible books.
I understand that so much myself. In fact, having been a lifelong type 1 diabetic, my vision has really changed. And I can't read small print anymore. And yet I still have bookshelves full of the books because they have meaning to me.
Yeah. And I'm farsighted. And the older I get, the more my sight isolates some things far away. So now I have to wear glasses to read books. I have to wear reading glasses. And same thing.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that writers, us modern writers, talk about. Whenever I'm talking to a group of writers, my writer friends, we all talk about how, Charles Dickens, Edgar Allan Poe, none of these people imagined existing in a world where print is almost treated as if it's passe.
Yeah, that's it. We were talking earlier, and so my dad was a printer. That's what he did. And if I want to actually read a book, I do need to download it onto my Kindle so I can make the print big.
Yeah.
But yet I still like to have the tangible thing if it is a book that has meaning to me.
Yeah.
And some really do.
And yeah, absolutely. I mean, moving one house, we had a pretty bad flood in, and I lost my series of Douglas Adams books.
Oh no.
And so slowly but surely, I've been rebuilding my Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy
Like the universe and everything has become a regular answer that I have to so many things.
Me too. I ran around when I was 42 with my chest puffed out. It was like, what is wrong with you? I was like, I'm the answer.
Exactly.
I don't know what you're talking about. Exactly. You don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm the answer.
So we were talking about also, and I'm going to share this because it's very exciting to me. You and Monique are going to be at the Nightmare on Main Street Film Festival in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania,
Yes.
July 24th and 25th. So any of you guys watching this, come on out, say hello to Saint, meet him, see what he's got. Are you going to be bringing some of your books there?
I am.
What are your thoughts?
I should be bringing books unless they don't print fast enough. And even then, I'll still bring other materials, photography, so on and so forth.
Beautiful. I was thinking that I'll have to get a copy of The Cat o' Nine Tails to have you both sign for me. So I'm going to have to order one of those. I'm excited about reading it anyway, after reading about it. But hopefully the print's big enough.
It is. I'm farsighted, so I get a little concerned about, someone not being able to read the books. But like my first two novels, the publishing company went under, so I'm actually re-editing and re-releasing. So I'm working on that, and I'm working on a book of short stories that are being edited as we speak, called Tales Told Out of School.
Beautiful.
And all of those are pulp horror blends.
Well, I am so excited about getting hold of some of this stuff and reading it and having the opportunity to meet you in July. And I'm fully vaccinated. I'm going to give you guys hugs.
I look forward to it, DJ. I tell you what, I always hear about you, from Monique, and basically at conventions, period, Donna. And I'm like, who's Donna? Where's Donna?
It's funny because I think I become kind of many people's con mom, I think. And there's the con family. We call each other brother and sisters, but I really think I have that maternal nature in me. So I tend to be everybody's con mom.
And that's okay. That's okay. You know, I've been a con hero. You know, I've had people go, "Oh no, this is going terribly. We need somebody. We need help." And it's like, oh, there's Saint, help us! And
Saint to the rescue.
I heard you did something recently with Linnea Quigley.
Yes, actually, I adore that woman. I just adore that woman. I did an interview with her about her animal rescue. And ever since then, we message back and forth, mostly animal stuff every day. And I just love that woman. So I'm going to be going with her to the Living Dead weekend. So I'm very excited about that. So
hug her for me.
I will do that.
I actually did a photo shoot with Linnea Quigley.
Ah,
one of my proudest moments as a photographer, because I am a fan of horror. It was a huge deal. And I remember Monique laughing at me. It's like, look at you looking like a schoolboy, all giddy.
well, that woman is just amazing. I mean, she's got heart. She's one, you know, I actually have on my banner, it says all of my friends are 80s scream queens. And kind of is in part falls back to that. Like, I'm in love with Linnea Quigley. Well, she's amazing in every way.
So many of them are just amazing, you know. Caroline Williams, just a beautiful person, inside and out, just a beautiful person. It's really a great subsection of the arts.
It really is. And it's also one of those things. I have people, a lot of my friends are horror nerds, but I have a lot of friends, or I know a lot of people who are not into horror. And I had somebody ask me, like, well, who is not familiar with horror, how do you equate your faith with your love of horror? And I'm like, well, first, if there's a good versus evil thing, I want the good to win. But secondly, the horror stuff is not real. You know, it's not real. It's like, you know, it's just fun, really. But
it's one of the many modern mythologies of a society that is way too technologically advanced for its
own good.
Yeah, exactly. We are way more technologically advanced. I'm not a religious guy, but there's a line in the Bible that says that each generation will become weaker and wiser. And that's what we're living in right now. We are weak of flesh and strength and capability, but we are wise in all these technological things. We do not have the strength to control the power that we have wrought. Period.
And really, it comes down to, I am one of those people that just keeps waiting for love to overcome, because I can't imagine it not. You know, what a world it is. We've seen what happens in the world when it doesn't win.
Yeah.
So just as an individual, I'm just going to keep pushing for it. So, and I keep being blessed to find people like yourself and Monique and Linnea, that darn it, we're just going to do our best to be good people.
And that's all you can do. That is your battle against all the darkness, is to be the best individual that you can be. And that takes time, because we have to deal with the darkness within.
Isn't that the truth? That is so much the truth.
again, something that horror is usually about, dealing with the horror and the what's scary within us, because we're always the monster and the final girl. We're both of them, you
Yes,
know.
we are. In fact, I really love the character of the final girl. And I consider myself to be one after some of the things that have happened in my life. And it is, yeah, really, it does come down to choosing to become the monster, the one that attacked you, or
Become,
overcoming it and being the final girl. So, yep.
yeah.
Well, I think that's a good note. I look forward to end up seeing you in July. Do you have any closing comments you'd like to share?
See, you put me on the spot, DJ. You know I'm bad at these things.
I know, you'd so much rather be in a dark little corner with a little light and a book to write in.
Or watching all of you across the room with a telephoto. You know, Tony Todd calls me the paparazzi. It's like, where's Saint? Where's the paparazzi? There he is. Well, I just want to reiterate the names of the books that exist and will be existing soon. There's 666 Newark Avenue, Tripping on Wisconsin. There's the poetry books, a series of left-hand turns, Goddess as a Temple of Worship, and what's being edited right now is Tales Told Out of School. And Sugar Rush is coming soon.
I'm excited about that.
I don't know how we will be getting it to you. It'll probably be cross your fingers, involving Lloyd Kaufman and his wonderful organization.
Well, perhaps we might have to do this again once some of that's out and we're working towards other things in life, and that would be a delight.
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, DJ.
And we'll see you guys in Waynesboro. Is it Waynesboro or Waynesburg? Waynesboro,
Waynesboro,
Pennsylvania.
Yes. See you in Waynesboro, Virginia.